My sister, who is now divorced, this and another one was purchased by her husband's grandmother in the early 1900s in Park Avenue antique store in New York. When they divorced, my sister ended up with both of them, and she gave me one. She believed they were from Japan. Her ex-husband did say they were very valuable.
Yes.
We were hoping that was true.
This object is a Meiji period Japanese inlaid iron work attributed to the Komai Company of Kyoto, identifiable by the rectangular signature cartouche reading Komai and the Kyoto reference. It is forged in iron with substantial weight, then finished in the Kyoto Damascene tradition using extremely fine nuno-meizogan inlay, where gold and silver are mechanically keyed into a textured iron surface rather than applied as paint. The decoration is organized into shaped cartouches, framing narrative scenes drawn from Japanese and Buddhist mythology, modeled in high relief to create depth and a vivid, almost theatrical sense of distance. Surrounding fields are packed with dense diaper patterning that cycles through geometric, foliate, and figural motifs, demonstrating workshop-level precision and exhibition-grade finish typical of late 19th century export masterpieces. Komai's approach reflects metallurgical skills related to sword-fitting craftsmanship, redirected into decorative art during Japan's rapid Meiji modernization.
So you have any ideas about what kind of value this might have?
No.
Must have some idea.
No, I don't.
No?
I really don't.
Well, then you might be a little surprised when I say it's worth about $80,000 to $100,000 at auction.
My sister's gonna faint when I call her.
Brought in part of a tea set, which I inherited. My mother passed away in 2006, so I've had them for the last 12 years. My father purchased it at auction in San Francisco around 1961 or 62. The one story that I gathered from speaking with my sister is that my dad picked this up, brought it home, and my mom was furious with him for spending the money on something non-essential.
This Japanese tea and coffee service was produced in the Meiji period, 1868, 1912, most convincingly, circa 1900, when master silversmiths created highly sculptural export wares for Western-style entertaining. The forms are fully decorated in the round, with high-relief dragons modeled in repoussé and chasing over a planished, hammered ground, giving constant movement to the surface. Long whiskers and swirling tails are engineered to merge into the structure, wrapping into the handles, climbing toward the spouts, and resolving at the base as claw and shell motifs, showing advanced control of sheet, silver, and joinery. Multiple underside stamps support the attribution. A sterling-grade silver mark paired with maker, workshop marks identifying konoike, consistent with Meiji hallmarking practices for premium silver.
The two objects you've brought here today, I would insure them together for $30,000.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot considering what else is still unreviewed. All right. I better get them insured.
It came from my grandparents' farm in Northern Virginia, and I've been admiring it since I was 10. We have had someone look at it and said they thought it was a Japanese artist's holder of the paintbrushes that the artist might use.
Yes, it's Japanese. It's more like a flower vase for just one flower.
One flower.
Yes. It's from late 19th century.
This Japanese single-stem vase dates to the late 19th century, Meiji, period 1868 to 1912, likely around 1890, when export-quality metalwork blended refined form with showpiece decoration. The body is made of shibuichi, an irogane alloy traditionally about 1/4 silver and 3/4 copper, valued for taking a soft gray patina that reads calm and elegant. Set against that muted ground is a central cloisonn enamel band, built with fine wire cells and filled with glassy enamels, creating crisp outlines and jewel-like color. The scene features playful oni figures teasing or chasing a young woman, a humorous narrative motif rendered with deliberate charm rather than menace. Marks attributed to Ozeki with an additional Katsuhiro signature, often linked to Suzuki Katsuhiro, support an origin among respected Meiji workshops, known for mixed technique vessels. Condition is especially critical on pieces like this because tiny losses, cracks, or lifting in the enamel and wirework can significantly affect authenticity and connoisseurship.
Holy cow.
You know why? It's because the reason 25, it has this a little bit of a problem. It's a condition issue, which is very important. So I'm making it very conservative. But if without that, I think it's going for like 40,000 or 50,000. I wouldn't be surprised. Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
I knew it was beautiful. I just didn't know how much
Good
it was
price,
worth.
Yes.
About 30 years ago, I was down in Nyack, and there was this lovely antique shop. And I used to go in, and there was a man there who owned it, Mr. Morris Stolper. There were many levels of Satsuma, and he taught me all these things to look for. He said, I want you to buy whatever it is that I'm going to tell you to buy.
This group represents high-grade Japanese Satsuma ware, a fine earthenware with an ivory body and tight crackle glaze, finished with overglaze enamels and heavy gilding that reached its artistic peak during the Meiji period, produced C1000, 881,000, 912. Made primarily for export, these luxury wares were designed to impress Western collectors through microscopic brushwork, layered gold, and complex figural storytelling. The Ryozan studio pieces show especially refined surface control. A pomegranate-form jar reflects Meiji taste for sculptural vessel shapes, paired with dense, jewel-like decoration. The Kinkozan example, marked on the base, favors elaborate narrative scenes such as an imperial procession, a hallmark of late 19th century export Satsuma's theatrical detail. The Yabumezan works, from an Osaka studio founded in 1880, are prized for intricate painting that remains balanced and selectively spaced, using areas of calm ground to heighten the precision of the imagery.
You could expect at auction something along the line for, I think, from what we see on the table, somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 for this collection.
Thank you, Mr. Stolper. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Oh, he's...
I never knew.
You had a good friend.
Well, my father brought it back from World War II, and he said he won it in a card game. I just know it was in the attic for a long time.
It's a tortoise, and it's an unusual tortoise because I've never seen a tortoise with hair.
On first glance, the piece reads like a tortoise with hair, but the trailing strands are meant to be seaweed or moss, identifying it as a Japanese minigame, a mythical turtle associated across Asian tradition with longevity and the link between heaven and earth. That symbolism is not just decorative. The long tail visually reinforces immense age and good fortune. Craftsmanship confirms it was made to impress. The body is solid silver, heavily weighted, and the surface is alive with hand-chased detail. Barnacles, scales, facial features, and the flowing seaweed are all modeled with meticulous control. Turned over, the underside carries equally fine finishing and an inscribed signature, the kind of maker's mark that can anchor the work to a specific artist or workshop. Taken together, mythic subject, precious materials, and virtuoso handwork make this a serious example of late 19th to early 20th century Japanese decorative metalwork, designed to reward close viewing from every angle.
Yeah, let's add a little bit. I think it's more like $20,000 to $30,000 at auction.
Ooh, that's quite a bit more than I thought it would be. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a teapot that my great-grandfather collected, and it's just been passed down through the family, so I don't really know much more about it.
This teapot is a Japanese Meiji-era showpiece made around 1895. It is crafted in silver with extremely fine filigree wire work that forms cells filled with translucent cloisonn enamel, creating a stained glass effect when light moves across the surface. The decoration is dense and meticulously organized, with crisp edges, even soldering, and a high level of finish that points to late 19th century luxury production. The handle, sometimes mistaken for ivory, is carved bone, chosen for durability and warm contrast against the cool metal and enamel. A maker's name is present and read as Hiratsuka, linking the piece to a recognized Japanese workshop tradition known for virtuoso silver and enamel work of this period.
I think at auction it should bring $20,000 to $30,000.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we weren't expecting that much.
Right, yes.
Oh wow!
So
Yeah,
enjoy
definitely
it.
don't break it.
Well, don't break it. Yes.
My father gave this to me. He owned an Asian art goods store in San Francisco. He told me that one day a gentleman from the Avery Brundage Asian Art Museum came in and asked if my father would be interested in donating it to the museum. And he said he would love to, but unfortunately, he's leaving it to his children.
This object is a Japanese lacquer writing box, or suzuribako, designed to hold an inkstone and a water dropper for brushwork and calligraphy. The lid presents a lively Chinese boys at play karako scene, executed as a technical showcase, gold inlay set into lacquer in extremely fine fragments, enriched with mother-of-pearl accents and low-relief modeling. Instead of using hard stones for landscape elements, the maker deliberately renders rocks and textures in lacquer to demonstrate control of color, depth, and surface. The silvery tones suggest silvered lacquer that has mellowed with age. The interior fittings include an inkstone and a silver-mounted, enamel-decorated water dropper, a component that can be later than the box since small implements were often replaced. The style, materials, and virtuoso mixed techniques align with Edo period Japanese lacquer traditions and are consistent with work in the manner of Ogawa Haritsu, known as Ritsuo, or a skilled follower in his lineage.
Nevertheless, an extraordinary example of craftsmanship for a Japanese lacquerwork box. And I would say that you ought to insure this for $25,000.
Really. My father would be very happy.
It came with a German professor from Japan when he returned. He had been teaching in Japan, and his students gave him this as a going-away gift for their appreciation. We believe it was 1892 that he returned to Germany with the statue. And my father then found it in an antique store on consignment from the grandchildren. My father was in the Army stationed in Heidelberg, and he loved bronzes.
This bronze sculpture represents a Japanese archer and reflects the artistic character of the Meiji period. The proposed date of 1892 places it in a time of profound transition following the Meiji Restoration, when Japan shifted from a feudal system toward rapid industrialization. As the production of traditional armor and weaponry declined, former metalworkers redirected their skills into decorative bronzes, often choosing martial subjects that preserved the spirit of the samurai tradition. The archer theme seen here is consistent with that movement. The figure bears the signature hitomitsu on the reverse, a significant detail. Unlike many other Asian traditions, Japanese craftsmen of the late 19th century frequently signed their works, especially those intended for presentation or export. Although hitomitsu is not widely recorded among the most prominent masters, the sculpture demonstrates confident casting and careful modeling. The facial features, armor, and breastplate show clarity and control, indicating a trained hand working within an established bronze casting workshop. The overall scale is balanced, neither overly monumental nor diminutive, enhancing its visual presence. The patina is rich and even, and the surface remains unpolished, preserving both aesthetic depth and historical integrity.
The market's down in Japanese art at this time, but I would insure this for around $15,000.
Oh my.
So I think your dad did pretty well.
He did. He did. Thank you so much.
This is a teapot that I believe was originally my grandmother's, and then my mother had it and she gave it to me when I was married. I love the workmanship in it. I have worked in clay because I'm an art teacher, and it's just so beautifully constructed. I love it.
This is a Japanese Meiji period porcelain teapot, attributed to Makuzu Kozan, Miyagawa Kozan I, 1842, 1916, identified by the maker's mark, set inside a rectangular cartouche on the base. The form follows an East Asian teapot tradition that predates Western adoption, with an ovoid body, loop handle, and fitted lid engineered for daily use. Its decoration is distinctly Japanese. Leaping fish appear as sculptural elements on the spout and lid knob, with additional fish and stylized clouds and waves wrapping the body. The surface combines underglaze painting and raised relief, creating depth as flat wave bands sit beneath the glaze while cresting waves project forward. The deep blue is typical cobalt underglaze, and the soft pinkish-red tones align with copper-based underglaze color, both applied before glazing and then sealed under a clear, glossy finish. A pierced gallery at the rim is both ornamental and functional, helping secure the lid.
Probably dating from about 1890. So you'll need to know the value for insurance purposes. Let's try about $14,000.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible.
I was told it's Chinese and was brought over to Boston on a clipper ship.
When did they say it came over?
I would think it was around the 1860s.
Okay.
And my mother bought it from the daughter of the ship captain.
This oversized metal censer is a late 19th century Japanese export work, most consistent with the Meiji period, 1868 to 1912. Its construction in multiple cast sections, including removable handles, reflects workshop engineering meant for safer shipping and assembly, a common feature of large Meiji decorative bronzes made for Western interiors. The decoration deliberately blends design languages. A Greek key border frames nature scenes, while lappet borders and stylized cloud scrolls draw from East Asian ornamental vocabulary that appealed to Western taste. The iconography is auspicious throughout, featuring a kirin, a phoenix, and marine life such as carp and crab symbolizing prosperity. The repeating tortoises rising from waves is a particularly Japanese longevity motif, helping distinguish the piece from purely Chinese production. Overall, it reads as Japan-made, created specifically for the Western market during the Meiji export boom.
An auction sale, this today, because it's a single item, and the Japanese market's a little depressed, today I would say that it would be expected to make between $10,000 and $15,000. That's at auction.
Okay. And insurance?
Probably more in the $20,000 range would be appropriate.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
My friend Linda, who
This object is a Japanese lacquer writing set centered on a suzurabako, a fitted writing box made to store and present the tools of calligraphy. Its deep black lacquer ground is finished to a high gloss, then decorated with gold and silver maquille, where metal powders are applied into wet lacquer to build shimmering images. The design shows cranes over sky and rolling waves, a classic motif associated in Japan with longevity, good fortune, and refined taste. Inside, the layout is functional and complete. An inkstone set into a recess, an inkstick, lacquered brush handles, and metal accessories such as a water dropper or small containers for implements. The mix of lacquer artistry, pictorial planning, and metalwork indicates workshop collaboration typical of high-grade sets. The style and technique align well with
My parents were big collectors, and they loved Japan. They made numerous trips there. They had a large collection of what I believe is Rosanjin pottery. They sold most of it in the early 70s, and it was this glaze here. So this is the remainder of the collection that they had.
These ceramic works are attributed to Kitaoji Rosanjin, 1883 to 1959, a seminal figure in modern Japanese ceramics whose practice fused connoisseurship, calligraphy, painting, and a chef's insistence that vessels must elevate daily use. The group appears consistent with Rosanjin's late production, often dated to the 1950s, and reflects his habit of quoting historic Japanese wares, such as bison and oribe, through modern reinterpretation rather than direct imitation. One vessel is described as referencing an even older archetype, modeled after a Han Dynasty prototype, showing Rosanjin's interest in classical East Asian form as a foundation for contemporary table art. The set includes a functional incense burner that likely originally had a silver cover, along with serving dishes aligned with the kitchen display culture Rosanjin promoted. Condition is a key factor in assessment. Visible damage and restorations, including repairs around a handle, should be documented because they affect integrity and how the surface is read. Attribution rests heavily on the presence of Rosanjin's characteristic signatures and seals, typically bold, graphic marks that unify the pieces as authored works rather than anonymous tableware.
Altogether, I would say your 5 pieces would constitute about $10,000 to $15,000 at auction, regardless of whether you have the signed boxes.
So, domo arigato.
Yeah, doitoshimasu. These pieces are quite rare. You don't see them come up at auction very often.
Well, my mother inherited them from a most famous lady in Idaho, Mrs. Alice Pittenger, and they've been in our family for 75 years. And Mrs. Pittenger was a physician in Chicago and met Dr. Pittenger, and they moved to Idaho, and she said one doctor in the family's enough, and so she retired as a physician.
These Art Nouveau candlesticks date to the late Meiji era, about the 1890s through early the 1910s, and were made in Japan specifically for the French market, where the curving botanical whiplash style was in high demand. The maker is identified with Samurai Shokai of Yokohama, a prominent export firm known for luxury metalwork tailored to Western taste. The sculptural iris-like stems and blossoms show sophisticated chasing and repoussé modeling that creates strong depth, movement, and high relief, typical of top-tier Japanese export silver from this period. A distinctive functional detail is the concealed vertical channel running through the core. Once the wax insert is removed, the opening reveals a continuous passage to the base, allowing the pair to be wired and converted into electric lamps without altering the exterior design.
I have never seen Japanese Art Nouveau candlesticks that are as beautiful as these. What do you think they're worth?
$4,000.
That's a good guess.
Oh, yeah, good.
But they're actually worth $10,000 to $15,000 if they were to come to auction.
Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. They're priceless to us, but that's nice to know. Wow.
My husband was cleaning out a home in Fairfield County, and it was going into a dumpster. He thought it was nice, and I love flowers and vases, so he brought it home, and that's how I acquired it.
So he saved it?
He saved it.
It's a Japanese cloisonn vase.
This is a Japanese cloisonn vase made by the Ando Cloisonne Company of Nagoya, identifiable by the maker's mark on the base, a 4-arrow star within a circle. Ando was among the most respected workshops producing export-quality enamels from the late Meiji period into the early 20th century, when Japanese cloisonne reached exceptional technical refinement. The vase features a clear sky blue enamel ground and carefully controlled wire partitions, with low to medium relief details where elements such as leaves rise above the surrounding surface. That raised modeling reflects repeated enamel applications and firings to build dimension, while keeping the glassy finish even and luminous. The silver mounts at the foot and rim add a formal, high-grade finish and also protect vulnerable edges. Condition is a major indicator of quality in cloisonne because enamel is brittle and commonly shows bruising, hairline cracking, or chipping at the shoulder and base. The clean, intact surface and crisp relief suggest skilled manufacture and careful preservation.
Then it would be worth, at auction, $800 to $1,200. Now, with this raised, low-relief enamel at auction, I would give it an estimate of $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
World War II, my grandmother made a trip to Japan, and I think she retrieved some items that she had over there. And she brought 9 matchlock rifles, just about like this, and brought this helmet and many other antiques also. I got the matchlock rifle when I was 9 years old, and at that time, Davy Crockett was really popular. She said, take your pick. And of course, I picked the plain one just like Davy Crockett had. All the others were completely inlaid with gold. So I don't know if I missed out on anything or not, but I enjoyed this rifle so much, and I've had it since I was 9, I think.
Okay.
This pair belongs to the final Edo to early Meiji transition in Japan. The firearm is a Tanegashima-style matchlock, a long, slender shoulder gun introduced in the 1500s and still made and used into the mid-1800s. Recognizable by its matchcord lock and extended barrel profile, the helmet is a samurai kabuto, originally part of a full suit of armor, finished in lacquer and fitted with heraldic elements, the family mon and a front crest maedat, here represented by a dragon ornament that is now missing. Together they reflect a period when traditional arms were rapidly losing battlefield relevance as Japan modernized after 1868. And many such pieces shifted from equipment to ceremonial display and later collecting. Condition review should document breaks, losses, and repairs on the kabuto, and check the rifle for completeness of lock parts, stock integrity, bore condition, and any later alterations, since original fittings and surface work carry most of the historical evidence.
To protect these, to take care of them, you can't replace them. It's the association. But, you know, for a monetary value, I would say that you should insure these two together for probably around $4,000, maybe $5,000.
Okay, that's very nice.
Somewhere in there.
Very nice.
Well, my father was a naval officer during the Second World War, and he went in with the first occupying forces in Japan. He was a supply officer. And when he came home, he brought this with him.
So one of the characteristics of Japanese cloisonn, particularly from the late 19th century and early 20th century, which is the time frame in which this was made, toward the end of the Meiji dynasty.
This Japanese cloisonn enamel jar, known as shippo, belongs to the late 19th to early 20th century, near the end of the Meiji era, when Japan's leading workshops achieved an international reputation for exceptionally refined enamel work. Rather than a utilitarian container, the ovoid form functions as a display canvas for a naturalistic composition of birds moving among flowering plants, set against broad, dramatic fields of deep navy blue that heighten contrast and depth. The piece's quality is expressed through its extremely fine wire partitions, cloisons, and controlled color modeling. Subtle gradations are built by placing carefully mixed enamel pastes into tiny cells, then repeating multiple firings and an extended sequence of grinding and polishing until the surface becomes smooth and glass-like. Technically, this level of precision reflects the Meiji period's major advances in enamel chemistry and production, including innovations associated with the German chemist Gottfried Wegener, whose contributions are widely cited as pivotal to the modernization and brilliance of Japanese cloisonn. Silver elements also signal an upper-tier object, since high-grade Meiji cloisonn commonly employed silver wire or silver fittings to sharpen outlines and elevate the overall finish. Without a legible workshop mark, authorship is best attributed to a skilled Meiji workshop tradition rather than a single named artist, consistent with how many top-quality export and exhibition pieces were produced during cloisonn's Meiji Golden Age.
It's glass plied over a metal base.
And I had 7 brothers and sisters.
And
So it did survive.
there was not an errant baseball in the house headed in that direction.
Right.
You have an idea?
No, none whatsoever.
Oh, you don't want to guess?
$1,000.
Try about $8,000.
Wow.
That would be for a replacement value, insurance value.
Yes. I don't think any of us would have guessed that much.
This is a piece that I inherited from my sister. My grandmother bought it in the 1940s, either in San Antonio or Houston. And my grandmother liked to buy things with a lot of ornamentation on them. And little details are what she really was drawn to and what appealed to her a lot in her collecting.
This Japanese Meiji period metal figure presents a fierce presence that once led children to mistake its headdress for horns. With closer attention, the identity becomes clear. A mythical portrayal associated with Emperor Ojin, a semi-legendary ruler placed in the 3rd or 4th century. The work is dated to the 1880s, during the mid-Meiji era, when decorative metalwork was prized for technical precision and lavish detail. The artist, Sayun, is marked by a signature set into the lower robe, a deliberate placement typical of accomplished metalworkers. Craftsmanship defines the piece through vigorous wave patterns, refined floral blossoms, textured rockwork, elegantly layered robes, and a carefully executed bat motif. The figure was originally conceived to hold a war standard, completing its narrative stance. Later, the missing standard was replaced as the object was converted into a lamp, first imagined with a flame-shaped bulb, and eventually adapted into a more conventional lighting form, altering function while preserving the sculpture's virtuosity.
I would say
at least $8,000 to $12,000.
Whoa.
A spectacular object.
8 to 12,000. That is really nice.
If it had been intact and not converted into a lamp, it probably would be about $15,000 to $20,000 at auction.
Thank you. Thank you.
To the best of my knowledge, they're Japanese cloisonn. I believe that they were produced between the late 18 and maybe 1920s.
The smaller one at the end, do you recall when you bought that?
Yes, we bought it in London in 1971, and it was at a very large antique fair in London. And it was, I believe, around $200.
Right. And the one in the center?
That one, my husband and I can't remember exactly when we got it, but it was probably before 1982, and it was probably purchased in Italy.
This group presents as Japanese cloisonn enamel vases from the late 19th to the early 20th century, with the most convincing stylistic fit in the Meiji period tradition. The defining strength is the exceptionally tight wirework. Lines remain crisp, evenly spaced, and densely organized, allowing a profusion of leaves, songbirds, and disciplined geometric bands at the rims without visual clutter. That level of control is typical of the era when Japanese workshops produced their most ambitious export-quality cloisonn. All four share a signature midnight blue ground, not black, but a deep, saturated blue that reads luxurious and was widely favored in high-grade Meiji work. Against that nocturne field, the decoration shifts from abundant botanical and bird passages to emblematic subjects. One vase carries a ho, or phoenix-like long-tailed bird, an auspicious motif, while another emphasizes coiled dragons, a classic symbol of authority and protection. The metal fittings reinforce the hierarchy within the set. The smaller examples are elevated by silver mounts, while the larger pair likely relied on gilded copper or base metal, showing honest rimware where hands and cloths most often meet the surface, with stronger gilding protected nearer the interior.
It's surprising that none of the four have markings, because often Japanese cloisonn vases of this quality would be marked. They're in excellent overall condition. As a collection of four, I would think a conservative auction estimate would be between $8,000 and $12,000.
The lady I was married to, a real sweetheart, her aunt went to China every year for 10 years and got to know some of the people in the art world. And so she brought this back and gave it to my ex-wife. And when we went through a divorce, she said, "Sterling, you love Oriental art," and she gave it to me. Actually, it was all folded up and everything, but I wanted to see it every day without it getting damaged. That's why I put it in this frame.
This work is a Japanese Buddhist hanging scroll painting kakemono on silk, produced in a temple workshop by anonymous, professionally trained painters. Materials and technique point to early Edo period practice. Fine ink and brush line over a prepared silk ground, natural mineral and vegetable pigments, and extensive gilding using gold leaf and gold lines for crowns, halos, and sacred outlines. The iconography depicts the Buddha with attendants and protective guardian figures in a descending Raigo-type composition, framed by lotus imagery that signifies purity and awakening. The inclusion of protective animals such as the elephant and tiger reinforces the theme of guardianship around the central enlightened figure. Wear patterns, typical of aged gilt, including small losses and flaking at raised or frequently rolled areas, are consistent with historic temple scrolls.
So this painting is in excellent condition for its age.
Thank you.
At auction, I would put an estimate of $8,000 to $10,000.
Oh, super. That's
so
great.
It's a good thing that you framed it to preserve it.
Well, I thank you for what you've done. I didn't have any idea. And you know what? I was going to sell it to buy a new horse because I'm a cowboy guy. But since talking to you, I think it's better I just keep it.
I think you should keep it.
I will keep it.
A Navy chaplain who was stationed in the Far East brought it back before World War I as a gift to my husband's 4 great aunts. My husband's parents got it from the aunts, and we got it from his parents.
This large Japanese porcelain charger is an example of Imari ware, produced in the Arita kilns and shipped through the port of Imari as part of Japan's export trade. Dated 1877 in hand-brushed calligraphy, it is unusually specific for an Imari charger and firmly places the piece in the Meiji era. The decoration is distinctive. Instead of the more common, bold, floral, and geometric programs, the surface presents a mountain landscape derived from scroll painting traditions, complete with narrative details such as a boat and a figure on a bridge. Technically, the design combines underglaze cobalt blue with overglaze enamels, plus gilding applied on top of the glaze. Light wear to the gold at the rim is consistent with handling, while the underglaze elements remain stable. The lappet-style border panels and deep blue accents frame the scene and emphasize its display function. Its large scale, dated inscription, and rare subject matter set it apart from typical Imari chargers.
I would say that a typical Imari charger of this size could be worth anywhere from $700 to $1,200. This one between $3,000 and $7,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and that's an auction value.
Been in the family since World War II. And my father, when he was 14 here in Arkansas, ran away from home because his father was in Europe fighting. And my dad wanted to join the Army too, but at 14, the Marines said no, the Army said no. So he thought he would head toward Canada and join the Canadian forces and deploy from there. Well, he didn't make it to Canada because his uncle found him before he crossed the border. But his uncle did take him to a military store, a large one, Bannerman's in New York, where he saw this helmet and bought it.
This object is a Japanese iron samurai helmet, a kabuto in the Nanban style, meaning it was shaped after European helmets introduced to Japan through Iberian trade and contact from the late 1500s onward. Nanban kabuto often echo Portuguese or Spanish forms, then are adapted for Japanese armor use. Originally paired with a multi-lame shikoro neck guard and an interior suspension and leather lining to seat the bowl securely. The surface shows age and oxidation, but the construction remains consistent with functional battlefield headgear. Its standout feature is the religious decoration, Amida Amitabha, Buddha descending on clouds in Raigo imagery associated with Pure Land Buddhism, symbolizing welcome into the Western paradise. The combination of martial form with gold and silver embellishment points to Edo period taste, plausibly late 18th to early 19th century.
Do you have any idea what you think it's worth?
Oh, absolutely no idea. I'd say just guessing between $2,000 and $3,000, I would probably say.
Well, at auction, you're a little conservative. I would say at the auction block, somewhere between $6,000 and $10,000.
Oh, wow. I won't put it on my head then. Never have.
We actually found it at a garage sale in Bella Vista. And I guess the woman had had it there for several days and nobody had bought it. And we fell in love with it. It had to go home with us. She said that her father-in-law had brought it back from Japan after the war.
This is a Japanese Sumidagawa, often spelled Sumidagawa, export art pottery piece from the late Meiji era, produced for Western markets beginning around 1895. Made circa 1900, it is defined by vivid, flowing glazes and dense, high-relief appliqué sculpture that turns the vessel into a narrative tableau. The modeled figures depict Rakan Luohan, Buddhist holy men shown in animated conversation, carrying small architectural forms and gesturing dramatically, with intentionally exaggerated faces that heighten the theatrical mood typical of the Sumida tradition. A key diagnostic feature is the raised signature plaque, identifying the work with Ishiguro Koko, an artist associated with Ryosai's circle and known for ambitious multi-figure compositions. The overall effect is a technical showcase of hand-modeled ornament built up over a glazed ceramic body, designed to impress through complexity, color, and storytelling.
Well, at auction conservatively today, you would be looking at somewhere between $6,000 and $10,000.
Oh, wow. Really good investment for $150, but it will stay at the house. It's got a home with us for sure.
I've had it about 10 years. I do a lot of yard sales, estate sales. I think it's from an estate sale, and I know I didn't pay much for it, so a lot of times the estate sales have the last day half price. So that's where I think I got it. I've always loved the piece.
This is a Japanese Satsuma earthenware vase from the Meiji era, distinguished by a cream-colored crackle glaze and decoration in layered overglaze enamels fired at high temperature, along with heavy gilt. Satsuma ware flourished from the late 19th century into the early 20th century, largely for overseas markets, yet most export pieces were painted quickly with simplified motifs. This vase belongs to the high-grade tier, shown by its cascading wisteria composition that drapes from the shoulder down the ovoid body, a gilded rim, and gold accents placed precisely on the raised points of each leaf to create refined depth and light. A standout feature is the miniature scale detail, a finely rendered cobweb with a small hanging spider, plus small birds woven among the blossoms, all indicating exceptional control and painterly precision. The gilt overpainted mark naming Yabu Meizan, a studio associated with top-level Satsuma in Osaka and active from about 1880, supports an attribution to a premier workshop known for unusually sophisticated enamel and gold technique.
I would say a conservative auction estimate would be between $5,000 and $8,000.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I still love it.
Perhaps a little bit more now.
Yeah, now I'm a little bit more nervous about, it just sits in my living room on a bookshelf, and
well, please
yes,
don't stop enjoying it.
No, I'm going to enjoy it.
I bought this at a yard sale about 7 years ago. My wife and I, on an average Saturday, went in our neighborhood, and with this, a couple of wooden picture frames, a couple of other paintings, and 2 tennis rackets for about $30.
Oh my goodness, really? Wow, did you know what it was?
Had no idea. It was literally across the yard, and I saw it and thought it was interesting.
Signed and labeled on the reverse, this 1963 mixed media abstract painting is attributed to Kojin Toniyama, 1921 to 1994, a Japanese painter and printmaker born in Ibaraki Prefecture, north of Tokyo. The Spanish word pintura on the back aligns with his well-documented professional ties to Mexico, where his work circulated and his reputation grew. Toniyama is often associated with radiant, sun-like color and energetic surfaces, a reputation reflected in the bold yellow passages and textured handling typical of mixed media. While he is widely known for prints and lithographs, authenticated paintings appear less frequently, making a signed painting an important example of his studio practice. Late in life, he maintained a strong connection to northern Japan, including Iwate, where his legacy is preserved through an associated museum.
His lithograph being sold for $800 or so. So maybe auction $2,000 to $3,000. So insurance $4,000. Maybe in Japan much more.
Okay.
I purchased them at a thrift store that I go to.
I wasn't sure what I had. I just like Asian artifacts and art.
And you go to the thrift store often?
I do. I go about twice a week to see what they have because they get stuff in all the time.
What do you think this is?
I didn't know if it's a girl or boy, but I think it's a girl. It looks like serene, like, oh, maybe Buddha, but I'm not sure. I was just drawn to it, the carving.
This carved pine figure is a Japanese depiction of Kannon, Guanyin Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of mercy and compassion, often rendered with an androgynous calm. The serene face and exceptionally crisp, tight robe folds point to a highly skilled workshop tradition associated with Japan's late 12th to 13th century, extending into the 14th, when Buddhist art shared an international East Asian style influenced by Song-era realism. Small holes around the headdress, along with faint metal staining, indicate a lost metal diadem or crown that once enhanced the image's devotional status. The squared foot blocks and adhesive residue show it was originally secured into a separate base, explaining its instability when freestanding today. Despite missing fittings, the carving remains structurally intact and stylistically coherent for medieval Japanese temple sculpture.
What did you pay for it?
$2.
You paid $2?
I did.
I think it's likely worth between $4,000 and $6,000 at auction.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot. That's amazing. That's amazing. So I did find something. So I'm excited. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
My grandfather was stationed over in France in World War II, and he acquired these and a bunch of other items that he had shipped over here. Some of his buddies from the Air Force Base went and picked them up for him, brought them to my grandmother, and that's where they've been sitting.
And do you believe the vases to have been altered in any way, or do you think they've been changed?
No, not in all the years that they've been sitting in our house since the 40s.
Okay.
These are Japanese mixed metal bronze sleeve vases from the Meiji period, around the turn of the 20th century, made for an export market that prized virtuoso surface effects. The bodies carry a controlled dark patina that acts as a stage for contrasting alloys, warm gilded areas over bronze, copper alloy passages, and silver flower petals that sharpen highlights and depth. The decoration is constructed in layered relief, shifting between deep sculptural modeling and elements like the supporting trunk and built-up overlays that sit proud on the surface, creating alternating grounds and a lively play of light. A key feature is the later French bronze mounting, executed in a Japonism or chinoiserie manner. The scrolling S and C forms and geometric key-like motifs are typical of European mounts added to Asian objects to suit Western interiors, producing a deliberate hybrid of Japanese workmanship and French decorative framing. This combination explains the dual identity of the pair, fundamentally Meiji mixed metal artistry, then refined for European taste through mounted presentation, with the original patina remaining an important marker of authenticity and careful preservation.
Now, these appeal to two groups of buyers, those who collect Japanese works of art, and secondly, those who collect decorative works of art, so European decorative arts as well, because there is a chinoiserie or Japonism element to them. Overall value, a conservative auction estimate would be $4,000 to $6,000.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
Very pretty vases.
Cool. They're going right back on my shelf.
Great.
Thank you very much for bringing this large, wonderful vase. When did you get it?
It was in the early 70s, and a gift from my husband.
This is a Japanese.
Oh, Japanese.
Japanese Meiji period vase, which is more into later Meiji period, early 20th century, porcelain vase.
This tall Japanese porcelain vase dates to the late Meiji era, likely early 20th century, and aligns with wares made in the Arita area of Kyushu, Japan's best-known porcelain center. The elongated columnar form is a recognized Arita export-style shape, but the extra height makes it less common and more technically demanding, especially in firing without warping. The decoration features sho, chikubai, pine, bamboo, and plum, the three friends of winter, symbolizing endurance, integrity, and renewal. Snow on the pine adds seasonal emphasis and visual contrast. Clean outlining, controlled color fills, and strong negative space suggest workshop production intended to read clearly across a room. A short base mark, often read as AO, blue, is consistent with abbreviated kiln or studio identifiers seen on Arita porcelain rather than a full personal signature.
In auction, maybe it might go up, but that's the price. I think you should insure it for 6,000, 8,000.
6 to 8,000?
6 to 8,000 or so.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I brought an Amida Buddha, which I believe is from the Edo period. My husband's great-grandparents brought it over from Japan in 1917. When his grandfather passed away in 2000, we obtained it, and we've been having him sitting in our dining room.
This sculpture depicts Amida Buddha, one of the most venerated figures in Japan's Pure Land tradition, honored as the Buddha of boundless light and everlasting life, and commonly installed in home or community shrines as a focus for calm devotion. The workmanship and materials align with early 18th century Japan, within the Edo period, when professional Buddhist sculptors and workshops produced refined wooden images finished with lacquer and gilding. The surface shows gilt lacquer over a wood core, with natural, age-appropriate traits, fine lacquer checking, small wood shrinkage cracks, and softened highlights where handling and time typically create consistent wear rather than abrupt, localized repair marks. The expression and posture emphasize serenity, reinforced by a contemplative hand gesture associated with peace and meditation. A notable feature is the clear, luminous detail set into the forehead or gaze, consistent with the Japanese practice of using rock crystal inlay to heighten spiritual presence, including techniques related to gyokugan on hollowed wooden heads. Edo period Buddhist images were also frequently consecrated by placing sacred items inside an interior cavity, such as prayer scrolls or dedicatory materials, then sealing the opening. A concealed compartment covered with fabric and lacquer, along with a faint internal rattle, strongly suggests intact consecration contents.
It being of considerable age, considerably good quality, and just of striking appearance, I think at auction today I would place what is perhaps a conservative auction estimate of $3,000 to $5,000.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Thank you so much for bringing it in.
Thank you. We love it.
I bought it at an antique shop here 10, 12 years ago. Well, I was actually looking for a Kentucky rifle to hang above our fireplace, and I spotted this, and then I purchased it and took it home, and that's what hangs above our fireplace mantle today.
You must have a very large fireplace mantle then.
This firearm is best understood as a Japanese matchlock teppo hinawaju, built in an oversized, long-barreled format commonly associated with rampart or wall guns. The conversation's first clue is the faint inscription near the breech, indistinct at a glance, yet consistent with Japanese characters, pointing to a workshop, domain mark, or inventory notation. The lock form supports a mid-19th century date, late Edo period, when matchlocks remained in service in Japan despite newer ignition systems elsewhere. Its proportions explain its role. Length and weight increase steadiness and effective range, making it suited to fixed defensive positions on castle walls, gates, or protected firing points. Rather than a hunting arm, it functions as a fortress weapon designed to project force outward as attackers closed in. The paired photograph and postcard read as later ephemera, but the object's identity rests in its Japanese construction, markings, and defensive intent.
Well, what did you pay for the gun?
I paid $3,000 for it when I bought it.
I believe that that was probably a fair value that you paid. If I had this at auction today, I would put a value of about $3,000 to $5,000. But I could see a retailer asking a little more than $6,000 for it.
Okay.
This is a tobacco bomb, which has been in my family since 1960. It was a gift to my grandmother. She got it from Mr. and Mrs. Furukawa. Her husband was president of Goodrich, and Goodrich had a business partnership with Yokohama Tire. And I believe that it was given as sort of a diplomatic gesture in the business world. Yokohama Tire opened up to Western trade early in the 1900s.
A Japanese Meiji period tobacco bon is a lacquered smoking box made to organize the refined tools of tobacco use in the late 19th to early 20th century. Produced during the Meiji era 1868 to 1912, and likely around 1900, this form combines practical cabinetry with showpiece decoration, reflecting the period's surge in luxury craft for both domestic elites and export markets. The structure is built as a compact chest with fitted compartments and small drawers sized for a kiseru pipe, tobacco, and accessories, emphasizing order and ritual in everyday leisure. The surface is finished in deep urushi lacquer, polished to a high gloss that acts as a dramatic ground for applied metal ornament. Copper elements, including silvered copper and gilt copper, are set as raised motifs that catch light like jewelry against the dark lacquer. The iconography is deliberately auspicious. Cranes signify longevity and elevated status, while cherry blossoms suggest renewal and the brief brilliance of life, a poetic contrast within a smoking set. Bamboo, often depicted bending in wind, symbolizes resilience and integrity under pressure, and sparrows add a lively seasonal note associated with harmony and domestic well-being. Together, these motifs align with Meiji decorative language that favored nature themes loaded with cultural meaning. Condition details help confirm authentic use. Corner wear and losses near stress points, such as handles and edges, are common on lacquer objects that were handled, and stiff drawers or misaligned fittings can result from long-term movement, humidity changes, or minor warping.
My brother and I were debating. His guess was in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. And I said, but it's got such a great provenance, I'm going to go higher. So that's kind of where we left our guess.
It does have some damage, which you don't like on lacquer. In today's market, something like this would likely sell for around $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay. Well, wonderful.
Let's say that we could prove that this was Empress Shokin's 5-10 times in value.
This was given to me about 2.5 years ago from a dear friend who has recently passed away. He purchased it in China. I'm not sure how many years ago. He gave me very little information except that it was supposedly a very nice bronze, and the gold trim on it and the fish were 24 karat. And basically that's about all that I really know about.
This piece is a Japanese Meiji period okimono, produced in the late 19th century, circa 1870s-1900s, when Japan's former sword and armor metalsmiths redirected their skills into luxury decorative bronzes. The subject matter, a humble fisherman rather than gods or warriors, aligns with Japanese taste for everyday genre scenes. The sculpture is a parcel gilt bronze. Selective gilding highlights details against a dark, carefully controlled patina to increase depth and contrast. Construction and modeling show high-level workshop practice, especially in the finely textured bamboo pole and the fragile fish element, parts that are commonly lost and therefore significant when intact. a signature or mark placed discreetly on the garment hem reading Miyao or Miyao Zo points to the Yokohama-based Miyao company associated with Miyao Aisuke, a leading name in premium Meiji bronze work made for both domestic display and export.
I think conservatively I could put a $3,000 to $5,000 estimate for its sale.
Wonderful.
As the
Good.
market increases, which I think it's on an upswing, this could easily reach $5,000 to $6,000 within a few years.
Wonderful. Super. Very interesting.
It was given to my husband like 40 years ago, just by a friend. They had been out partying, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it has a function. I'm not sure what it's even made out of. I thought it was from India.
This object is best identified as a late 19th century Japanese Meiji period bronze incense burner in the form of an elephant carrying a pagoda. The elephant is not merely decorative. The raised architectural shrine on its back functions as the upper chamber and venting system, allowing incense smoke to rise and exit through small openings. The layered saddlecloths, over blanket, and pendant tassels are modeled as sculptural textiles, a common Meiji approach that emphasizes dense surface detail and theatrical silhouette. Several features support a Japanese attribution over Chinese. The deep chocolate brown patina, paired with selective gilded highlights applied like a light wash, aligns with Meiji bronze finishing preferences for warm, even surfaces accented by restrained gold. The crisp casting of the dragon ornament and the sharply defined tassel loops also fit the precise ornamental style associated with mid to late Meiji decorative bronzes produced for display. An important iconographic clue is the Minogame motif, the long-lived sea turtle traditionally shown with trailing seaweed growth on its shell. This auspicious Japanese symbol of longevity appears here as a deliberate cultural signature, helping distinguish the piece from closely related Chinese elephant and pagoda censers that can otherwise look similar.
Pretty decent shape, even considering the missing elements. It's big, it's splashy, it attracts attention. Well, I think that conservatively it's in the $2,000 to $4,000 range at auction. Could easily do a lot more. The Chinese version of this is worth about $20,000 to $30,000.
They have been on the mantle in the house that I live in now for 73 years. I inherited my home from my cousin, and these guys were there. As a child, a little child, I always was curious and would ask my cousin, "What are those?" And he said, "Oh, they're ashtrays."
These two figures represent the Japanese yokai pair Ashinaga, long legs, and Tenaga, long arms, a well-known folk motif that symbolizes cooperation through a fishing tail. One wades far into the sea on towering legs, while the other rides above and reaches down with extended arms to seize fish. The subject belongs to popular storytelling traditions that were widely pictured in prints and later adapted into decorative sculpture, especially during the late 19th century when collectors favored dramatic, character-driven figures. The sculptures are made as display objects rather than functional wares. Their construction is consistent with Meiji-era workshop practice, a carved wooden core built up with colored gesso, a chalk and glue ground that allows crisp modeling and vivid paint, plus inlaid glass eyes to heighten lifelike intensity. The faces are intentionally theatrical, with ferocious expressions, emphasized teeth, and exaggerated anatomy designed to read clearly from across a room. Any shell-like accents sometimes seen on pieces of this type should be treated as fragile decorative inlays, not practical trays. Stylistically and materially, the pair aligns best with late Meiji production, roughly 1880 to 1900, when export and domestic markets both supported bold folk subjects rendered with high visual impact.
Well, I would say, other than a couple $100, more like a couple $1,000.
Wow.
I would say at auction for the pair, about $2,500 to $4,000,
Wow.
$2,500 to $4,000.
Wow.
Now, if in fact they were in a little better condition, probably they would carry a pre-sale estimate of $5,000 to $7,000.
Wow. They're not going to auction, they're going back to their spots on the mantle.
I bought it on an online auction. I fell in love with it when I saw it. I bid on it, and fortunately I got to bring him home. I paid between $350 to $360. I've had it, I'm thinking 10 to 12 years now. I still know nothing about this piece.
This is a Japanese Meiji period bronze okimono from the late 19th century to around 1900, depicting Daruma, the Japanese form of Bodhidharma, a foundational figure in Zen tradition. The compact, limbless body follows the well-known Daruma legend tied to extreme meditation, while the exaggerated facial expression reflects a late Meiji taste for vivid character studies rather than strictly solemn religious portraiture. The square, pierced base and crisp casting point to decorative bronzes made for display, with openwork stands commonly seen in export-oriented Meiji metalwork.
So, how much do you think it is?
I have no idea.
Well, I should put the conservative estimates. At the auction, maybe it will go for 2,000 to 3,000.
Oh my.
On a good day, maybe much more.
Oh my goodness, really?
Right.
I came from an estate sale in Boulder in the 80s. It was somewhere between $60 and $90 at the absolute most. I just find it fascinating, all the little joints.
This object is a Japanese jizai okimono, an articulated metal figure made from many small copper components joined by pins and hinges so the body can flex and hold poses. The workmanship shows advanced metal forming and precision fitting, with layered plates and tight tolerances that prevent wobble while keeping smooth movement across multiple joints. A maker's signature, masaaki, appears on the breastplate, consistent with the tradition of highly skilled Japanese metalworkers whose techniques overlap with historical armor construction and fine mechanical craft. Produced circa 1900 in Japan, late Meiji era, it reflects the period's shift from samurai-era metal skills toward export-ready decorative works prized for realism and engineering.
It would have been sold to someone who was likely outside of Japan, primarily in the US or Europe. So it dates at around 1900. I'd think that reasonably one could expect to get $2,500 to $3,500 for this at auction.
Thank you very much.
I believe it to be Japanese. The motors are Japanese. It's electric, runs on 9 D-cell batteries. I bought it at a garage sale about 15, 18 years ago. I've had it on display in my kitchen since then, with the display stand under it, and I collect toy boats, so I saw it, I had to have it.
This oversized Japanese battery-operated wooden toy boat reflects post-war manufacture, most consistent with the late 1940s to early 1950s, when Japan produced highly detailed export toys using electric motors and bright metal fittings. The build combines a substantial wooden hull with stamped tin and metal components, including railings and multiple lifeboats, elements that are frequently missing on surviving examples. Illumination points along the deck and superstructure emphasize the era's fascination with motion and spectacle, while the 9 D-cell battery compartment suggests a powerful drive system and added ballast for steadier running. The craftsmanship lies in the density of small parts, clean assembly, and the realistic maritime layout, making it a strong representative of mid-century Japanese mechanical toy production.
Today's world auction value, I'd put it $2,000 to $2,500.
What? 2 to 2,500?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's just fantastic.
I have to find a better place to display it now.
Yes.
Move it to the living room.
Exactly.
Wasn't a bad buy.
No, I think you did all right.
Yeah.
I grew up in a house with a number of Asian artifacts. My father and mother, after World War II, lived in Japan for 2 years and brought them back. However, this item was a found item. My father bought an old house as an office in upstate New York in 1953. There was a large wooden crate in the basement. When they uncrated it, which I think was probably a year after he bought the building, this was in here. We have intermittently tried to find out things about it. We obviously know it is a Japanese Buddha or a Hotei, but in terms of what, when, and where, we're really unsure.
This object is a large Japanese ceramic figure of Hotei, one of the 7 gods of good fortune, revered as a symbol of prosperity, contentment, and abundant nourishment. The iconography is closely related to the Chinese Budai tradition, later naturalized in Japan, which explains the smiling face, exposed belly, and relaxed posture that communicate well-fed security and good fortune. The figure is made in high-fired earthenware, formed in a mold for the primary shape, then refined by hand in the facial features, folds of the robe, and surface accents. Its decoration relies on moriage, a raised enamel technique in which thick relief like overglaze is applied to build tactile highlights and then fixed in a lower temperature firing. This produces pronounced texture and depth across the garment and ornaments. Gilding on high points adds visual authority and helps the sculpture read clearly from a distance. The impressed "Made in Japan" mark indicates production for export markets and supports an early 20th century date, most plausibly around the 1920s to 1930s, when large decorative religious and folkloric figures were widely made for prominent display in public-facing interiors.
The value is going to probably be in the $1,500 to $2,500 range.
Great.
At auction.
We're happy to have it. We're happy that it has good meaning, good luck, and we got to rub its belly a lot.
This came down in your family.
Yes, from my mother's side of the family. Probably was in my grandmother's family, her mother, and then my mother's had it since the late 40s. And at Easter, Easter egg was always hidden in that, and it's always been called the bird lamp.
The bird lamp, okay. It's a pretty crazy shape. If you took the cover off that makes it a lamp, it would actually be a vase.
It was a vase?
It was.
Originally?
Yes. This is in the form of a ritual vessel.
This object began as a decorative bronze vase, later converted into a lamp, designed in revivalist form rather than for ritual use. Its profile deliberately echoes ancient Chinese bronze vessel types, especially the zun and the tall beaker-shaped gu, both associated with early ceremonial winewares. The perched bird is a stylized phoenix, rendered with archaizing wings and scrolling motifs that quote early bronze ornament to project historical sophistication. The colored surface work is champleve enamel, created by cutting or casting recessed cells in the metal and filling them with fired enamel, leaving raised metal lines to define the design. Although the vocabulary is Chinese, the manufacture is most consistent with Japanese export metalwork from the Meiji era, when workshops adapted classical Asian forms into exuberant showpieces for Western buyers.
What do you think it's worth?
$1,000.
You are right on the money. Yours has got to be $1,000 to $1,500 at auction because it is so over-the-top wonderful. And the majority of these types of things are really worth about $75 to $175.
I'm stunned by what you told me.